Good morning, traders. Today is Monday, June 13th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. Well, if you were with us during the private stream at the end of the day on Friday, in the very last minute of the day, we got a spike down and closed in that spike. That was the signal. The market was looking for continuation of the trend. So here we can see we broke out of balance and we are now one time framing lower on the daily. So the market is trending lower. That should be enough momentum to stop you from thinking anything bullish today because the momentum is to the downside, clearly. But we are down here in an area where we found support below. And we do have a lot of gaps. We have multiple gaps above us. So there is a call for a counter auction to the upside this morning. And that will be the first thing I am watching for. So the overnight inventory is 100% net short, giving us a giant gap down. So that increases the odds that at the very least this morning, the market will try to fill that gap. They'll try to push their way back up towards Friday's low. If they cannot get that gap filled, if they can't get all the way up to Friday's low, if they try to push higher, get resistance and start to head lower, that is a gap and go, which is bearish for continuation to the downside. So pretty much, even though we may get a huge move up this morning, we could do 100 points to the upside easily. That is not a reason to get bullish. Okay, the momentum to the downside is still in control of the market. And I would only start to get air quotes bullish if we were to able to get back up into yesterday's range and then come back down and find some support inside Friday's range. Anything other than that, any push up that fails to get inside Friday's range is bearish for further downside continuation. Okay, so keep that in mind. Don't let a counter auction get you bullish for anything more than the counter auction itself. Once that's over, the bears are still in charge. I would say a counter auction should at the very least be able to get to 38.30. If not up towards 38.72. But we'll just have to wait and see. Of course, if the market opens and immediately starts to trade lower, that is bearish as well. As a gap and go. All right, so the market is trying to fill that gap. Man, look at how bearish those internals are opening. Ticks opening at negative 1,700. Crazy. Very bearish. But we are looking for those ticks to work their way back up towards the zero line, giving those sellers from the overnight a chance to take profits. And we're looking for where does the market get resistance? How much of this gap can we fill? If you have not yet, please smash that thumbs up button. It's a great way to support the channel. Costs you nothing. But of course, the effort of scanning your mouse over and clicking the button. Just for the record, I would consider the low this morning weak, just because it was exactly the opening price. We didn't test any lower at all. Something to keep in mind as we continue this counter auction to the upside. We've got a magnet tugging on price once it finally finds that resistance. Good morning, Cyrus. Did you roll over to the U contract? Yes, everyone should be on the U at this point. I think the M's either expired or expires today. Hello, Scooball, Caffeine, Phillip, Jeremy Jones. Jeremy says, so much movement already overnight will be hard to short for me. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we expect a counter auction. We expect those overnight traders to take some profits. And we expect some short-term day traders in the U.S. market to look for a gap fill trade. But once they run out, once all those shorts from the overnight take profits, and anyone who's looking to go long for the gap fill has done so, then we will get a gap and go, and the market will likely get continuation in the direction of the trend. So it will be a great opportunity once we get that resistance. Jack, good morning to you. Michael says, would you look for the poor lows during the overnight session to be repaired? I assume you mean the weak references within the overnight session? No, I don't pay attention to those. Scooball, excess needs to balance. Certainly possible. We could get a rotational today. Two ways to balance off the excess to the downside, right? You get a big move down. You either push back up with price, get resistance and then continuation, or you push down and then you just rotate at lower prices, letting time balance it off. Both are possible, as well as a continuation of the excess. Just got to wait and see. The Shaw, welcome to you. T-Bay is here. Cordman, hello. Chilling with Dylan, Elliot, John Lash, Trader X, Daniel. Welcome to all of you. Michael, is a valid gap fill to the wick low or must be to the close? It's the low of the day or the high of the day. So I think what you mean by wick low. So if we're looking at it here on the chart, filling the gap would be getting to, I mean, they're actually the same level. The closing price was only like a point off from the low of the day, but yeah, it would be getting to yesterday's low, not to yesterday's close. Good morning, MW, Blue Shirt, Boss Man, Arthur, Rocket, Chris, Lamus, RK Leon, Tyler Durden, Chirp, Xavier, Nor Auto Trader. Welcome, welcome. All right, well, I am bearish on the gap and go, knowing that we left the week reference behind because the low of the day is the opening price. Pulling back below the halfback, in my mind, increases the odds. We need to go repair that week reference. And I will be monitoring for continuation lower from there, as getting below the overnight low would be bearish. All right, there's the repair of the week low, but we have now pushed below the overnight low, which is bearish to see. So we are looking for resistance and continuation lower at this point. This is what we would call a gap and go, which is bearish. I went back and dug into the previous time we were bouncing around in these levels. The next major support area is going to be around 57 and then around 37.25. But those aren't exact levels for support, just this general area in here and this general area in here. So now we're looking to test the resistance and monitor for continuation lower. Tyler Durden, American Pension Plans, thank you for the banner. Were they looking for a new low? Seems like they would want the market to go up. Andy, does your e-course just have theory, or are there strategies to also learn? By strategies, I assume what you mean is, are there trade setups? Not really. There are a few. I mentioned the gap setup and the, balance area setups and stuff like that. But I don't teach trade setups because I think every trader is different. So I can't teach you how to trade based on your psychology. You have to do that for yourself. But what I teach is how to read the market so that you can understand what's happening. And from the framework of knowing what's going on in the market, it's much, much easier to develop a winning strategy for trading it. All right, so we're looking for resistance here at the halfback. Asterix, is there a way to get your setup chart indicators and such in Sierra Charts? Yeah, Sierra Charts has market profile. It won't look exactly the same as mine, but you can get, all the essentials. Volume and time at price. Arthur, Bitcoin down to 24K? Yes, sir. I hope I got some buyers in the chat looking at these lows in crypto. Thinking it might be worth dipping a toe. Anyone who said they wished they owned it when it was at 60,000 ought to be licking their lips right now. All right, back to neutral here as we are working our way through the halfback. And the ticks are starting to trend up. All right, so to get me bearish now, if I could see some resistance. So if we either pushed below the overnight low once again, came back up and found some resistance, or if right now we push back up into the half back and found some resistance, I would get bearish once again. Right now, this feels a little bit like chop, a little bit like price discovery. So I want to see confirmation of those sellers to get bearish once again. Andy, what software am I using? It's called Window Trader. Okay, so now once again, looking for resistance here around the half back. All right, that's bearish to me, that resistance. It's a sign that there are new sellers waiting to get in. So the next thing we want to see to monitor for continuation lower, we want to see the market push below the overnight low and then find resistance there. Andromeda took your course this weekend, was very informative, and definitely cleared things up. Glad to hear it, brother. And now that those concepts have begun to set in, it'll make so much more sense when you hear me talk about them during live streams. Screwball, NQ with a weak low. Correct. That low is weak. And it is even weaker by the fact that it's just a point away from a poor low as well. Begging to get repaired down there. 11,492. Rocket Bitcoin lost the 200 moving average. Yeah, Bitcoin don't look good. Are you talking about the daily? You lost that a long time ago. It's got the 200 on the monthly down there at 22. Tyler Jordan, BTC to 0? No. Maybe down to 19, though. Wouldn't be impossible. Actually, we're getting close to, what's his name? The guy who owns that MicroStrategies or whatever. His Bitcoin gets liquidated, doesn't it? At like, I think 25 or 24, probably pretty soon here. Yeah, Sailor, that's it. Interesting, Coop. Got to hit 21 to get a margin call. All right, so now we are pushing once again below that overnight low. So we're looking for resistance here for continuation to the downside. If they're able now, once again, to push their way back up through the halfback, we're likely to have like a rotational day going sideways at lower prices. Whereas if we get resistance here and continuation lower, we'll start trending down. Do we get new sellers at the overnight low? NQ creating a poor low on top of a weak low in need of repair. Michael, how is the halfback displayed? It's this white line that you see right here. That is the halfback. And the little mini white line, that's halfback for this 30-minute period. But this one here is for the day. That's the main one I watch. All right, testing that halfback. Like I said, if they can get back above there now, I'm going to assume we're probably going rotational down here. Probably going to have a sideways day at lower prices. If they want to start to really push the market lower, this is where the sellers should step in. Asterisks. Foreign credit cards for the $10 subscription. Once subscribed, is it in YouTube? Yeah. So if you subscribe to the membership, you basically just get access to a link where you can watch a video the full day that's exactly the same as this first hour. It just goes for the full day. And yep, foreign credit cards are accepted. As well as Bitcoin. It's just you. You're the only one person who's ever done it. Although that person had a different identity at the time. Asterix, yep. It's this exact same thing. Just going full day. Man, we really are bouncing between like support and resistance here over and over and over again. So whichever one of these sides breaks, we're likely to get some continuation. Okay, there's the repair of the poor low on the Q. Both indices now have the initial balance to the downside, which is bearish. Okay, so we're getting a little bit of a liquidation break here as some of those weak hands buyers that were trying to buy the opening price get squeezed. So once the liquidation is over, we look to see, can the market trade its way back up to that overnight low, or does it find resistance along the way? Resistance being more bearish for continuation lower. As a liquidation break with new money selling. Asterisks, how do you determine the initial balance down other than the first 30 minutes? So the initial balance is the first hour of the day. It's the trade that the market does in the first hour of the day. So if the second half an hour is lower, so you can see the A period was here. That's the first half an hour, and the B period is here. That's the second. So because it's lower, we know the initial balance is to the downside. It's not a big deal. It's a little tiny bit bearish, but then it gives us a good insight whether or not we get continuation from there, right? When we print the C period, does that break the initial balance to the downside, showing a continuation of that momentum? Or does the C period pull back up and get above the B period high and start heading back up? But to the moment, the initial balance is to the downside, which is bearish. Chris B says, bought a little more BTC, so you can expect it to go lower. That's all right, brother. Play the long game. As long as you invested in an amount of money that you can see go down another 50% and you can stay in the trade, then you're good. Okay, so as we push into this like 70, 71 area, we got some support here. So we'll see if the market can catch a bounce and then look for resistance above. It's not an exact level, that 72. It's just the general area. Chirp, why are some TPOs in the B period purple and others white? It has to do with the amount of volume that traded. But honestly, don't worry about the colors of the letters. I don't pay attention to that at all. That's just that was built into the template when I first started. I'm really only looking at the colors of the volume bars. And of course, the green letters for the TPO. But the white and purple, I don't pay any attention to. Jeremy Jones, I wonder how many people are playing this like the 2020 pandemic drop. Sad because it's not going to bounce like it did then. Well, yeah, it hasn't dropped like that either. It's been a slow grind lower. It's felt like a bear market. Tyler Durden says he'll short the A low if we get close. Asterix, I subscribed. Welcome. Happy to have you. Okay, well, this pink candle here, that is a sign of new sellers. Remember, we had a liquidation that got us down here. So we expect that liquidation to be able to retrace pretty easily and head back up towards those A period lows. But it could not. It got new sellers piling on, which is bearish for continuation to the downside. Jeremy talking about the people who don't pay attention to the detail you mentioned. They just buy the dip and don't think about anything else. Yeah, it's true. But that's what makes investing and trading and financial markets so interesting. You know? Someone right now is buying in their 401k or their IRA or whatever, and they're planning on holding for the next 20 years. And 20 years from now, they'll look like geniuses for having done it. But they're probably scared shitless at the moment. That's just how it goes. Man, new sellers continuing to pile on. All right, buyers starting to defend this support. So we are looking for a bounce and some resistance. All right, as we print the C period, we've left behind a bunch of single prints in the B period. That increases the odds. The market will try to push its way back up to backfill those single prints and then look for resistance at 37.9250. If the market immediately starts to trade lower and we break the B period low with the C period, that will be the beginning of one time framing lower, which would be bearish. So pretty much I remain bearish as long as we are below that base of the single prints, 37.9250. If they do want to just go rotational, remember when you're getting excess, when the market is heading a certain direction, you can keep getting excess. It can keep trending lower, but at some point you have to balance it off. There's one way to do it where you just rotate at lower prices. So that is still possible here today. We may just go sideways, and we'll know that's going to happen if we can get back above 37.92. Otherwise, it seems like first they're going to keep trending it lower. The excess may not be over to the downside, which is bearish. And it looks like you're about to start one-time framing as we speak. So with that, I will bid you all farewell. Wish you all the best for the rest of the day. And I look forward to seeing you here tomorrow morning. If you're not a member of the brigade, there's a link in the description. You can join for just $10. That's it. And then you get to hang out all day, every day. If not, we'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye. Market is now one-time framing lower, which is bearish.